Giannella, Cincinnati, Ohio, and I was president in 1999-2000.
Could you give us some background on how you got into the medical field and also how you got into gastroenterology?
The medical field, I've always wanted to be a doctor. I think it was based on family and my mother's encouragement. Gastroenterology was largely because I ran into, in medical school, a charismatic professor of gastroenterology who loved what he was doing. And I could see that the field was interesting. And the fact that he loved it and he was so good at it, and he conveyed that enthusiasm, attracted me.
What was the name of that professor?
This is at the Albany Medical College, and the name of the professor was, I'm blocking on his last name now, John, it'll come to me.
What do you tell people who are considering a career in gastroenterology?
Well, whoever shows an inkling of interest, I try to encourage. And some of the things I tell them are, one, the field is intrinsically interesting. I think the field is entering a golden age. It hasn't peaked. There are a lot of new exciting things on the horizon. In that there's room for diversity of interest, and you can help people. If you're interested in research, as I said, the field is entering its golden age, and there's lots of research that needs to be done, and welcomes young, enthusiastic people.
What motivated you to join the AGA governing board and eventually put your name in for president?
You know, that's a good question. I'm not sure I can answer it. It's sort of just slowly evolved. I actually don't even remember the first contact. I mean, I started out by being on a committee. I don't even remember which committee was first, but that committee led to the appointment on a second committee, and then ultimately I was asked to be chairman of what was then called the research committee, which was a major committee of the AGA. And then I just continued on after that. Being chairman of the research committee came with a position on the governing board. So that was my first exposure to the governing board. And then when that tenure ended, which was a 2-year tenure, there was a lag in my committee, in my participation in the AGA until a couple years later when I was elected to be president.
What do you recollect from your time as president? What kind of issues was AGA focused on?
Well, I recollect that we were in a beginning of a growth period, and the other another field was an expansion of our publications. That's when we started the journal Clinical Gastroenterology and Hepatology, was born in that governing board while I was president, and has gone on to be a successful journal. We finalized and expanded the various interest sections in gastroenterology. So now I think there are 6 or 8 of them. That has been a very successful development in the AGA.
What impact leading AGA had on you personally?
Well, during the presidential year, it was an extraordinarily busy year. It basically was adding another half-time job. In other words, I didn't take a sabbatical. I continued my regular job and work and merely added the AGA responsibilities. I recall being so busy that I did something for the AGA every single day of that year. There was not a day where I didn't have something to do for the AGA. In spite of that, I enjoyed it. It energized me. I loved it. The reason I loved it is I thought we were doing good work. It was a pleasure to work with my colleagues. I mean, we were blessed on a governing board with very bright, enthusiastic people. So it was fun to work with them. It was fun to work hard.
Could you share your thoughts on where AGA is today?
Well, I've been out of the AGA other than being a regular member for 10 years now, so I'm not up to date on everything that they're doing. They're expanding, I can see that. They've added 2 journals. In the one during my tenure, and then 2 more since. So that has been a major accomplishment for the AGA. DDW has evolved, still successful in spite of COVID, and they've now just been back for their first live meeting since COVID. That's all I'm familiar with.
Any advice for governing board members of the future?
I think the most important advice is be attentive to the needs and wants of the membership. Leadership comes with the danger of being isolated and being apart from the membership in general. So I think one has to make an effort to regularly communicate and be in touch with the membership, have a feel for what they want, what they're interested in, what they need, and not lose sight of that.
Do you have any hopes for AGA or gastroenterology's future that you'd like to share?
Well, first, continued success. Been a successful organization for a very long time. It's still the premier GI association in my mind and in many people's minds. Same is true of its journals. Oh, just remembered another major emphasis that became a major emphasis during my tenure was an increased interaction with our international colleagues. We had more meetings with them. We shared a meeting in Spain on a regular basis, an educational meeting. And then that evolved into several others. I think the AGA not only is successful, but is doing the right thing. What I don't know is the financial situation, what impact COVID had on the AGA finances. So they have to regularly be attuned to that. I think the other major emphasis should always be attraction of new young members and actively seek them out. There is competition for membership, and the AGA certainly competes, but needs to continue to do that and be successful at competing for young members. I think the other thing that I've noticed and approve of is, I think nowadays in the AGA, meaning the last 5 or 10 years, young people are incorporated into the committee structure and leadership structure of the AGA much sooner than they used to be. Yeah, you had to be almost have gray hair in the past to be on a major committee or on the governing board. That's changed. Now younger people are on those committees and leadership structure much earlier.
Is there anything else you'd like to share that I didn't already ask you about?
I've enjoyed it all and wish I could do it all over again. So I don't regret anything. I think gastroenterology is a great field, and I think the AGA is a great organization. Happy anniversary, 125th AGA. Many happy returns.